So at the expense of laughter, and it's very dear. Laughter is very dear. You never let go of laughter.
I know.
But we did let go because we said, no, nobody should question this because this is then being wrong.
Welcome to The Best Parts, the show where we get into the heads of characters we love by speaking with the people who created them. I'm Genesia, and in this episode, we're talking about how love may be love, but marriage is a whole other set of shenanigans. And where exactly lavender marriages fit in on the rainbow. Parents who supervise our sex lives, stereotypes, sexism, and other truths. And you guessed it, you guessed the film, because really no one else would even dare to tell this story, never mind do it so well. We're discussing Badhaai Do with none other than director Harshavardhan Kulkarni. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
बोलते ना
क्या
हम आप ही हैं हम सब लैंगिक हैं
क्या है
सब लैंगिक हैं हम
कौन है
So there's always this old trope that we grew up with where, any representation of queerness was either something to laugh at or something to pity or something to even fear, right? And so this buzz about Badhaai Do, it felt different. The moment people started walking out of the theatres, did it land? Of course it landed. And, of course the press loved it and the punters loved it. The queer community loved it. And everyone was really charmed by the film. But I think for me, what really touched me was that people who never even thought they would have to think about gay people. Like I know this couple, they're elderly, and the husband, they're both quite conservative, lovely people, very conservative, and he was like, for them it was a good film. And that was pretty high praise because he doesn't believe that this situation would ever be in his life. And so I'm old enough to, take these tiny victories. It's good. And because that's how the needle shifts, even if it's the needle in the only scene in the history of cinema that uses the blood test as a setting for a lesbian girl on girl thing. Well done.
Thank you.
So of course, when the story came to you, you must have had some reservations in some ways. And maybe it was about your own intuition or your own life experience. So did you have any of those reservations? And then while you were doing it, what did you find out that you personally did not know?
Lots. Actually, to be very honest, again, I come from, it sounds very strange, but maybe that generation, that I come from. All the knowledge that I have had is never from a personal experience.
All right.
Because I've never had a friend with whom I've had a
Yeah.
chat or
Yeah.
anything, the
Yeah.
struggles, the strife. So I was pretty much alien to it. The only thing that I would know about queer people was from the films or the books that one has read,
Right.
but never a personal experience. So when this film did come to me, it was, strangely after making my first film, I was only being offered something which was adult.
Yeah.
And I always felt it was a coming of age film, but it was, slotted as a sex comedy. And so I was only saying, on a spree of saying no to each and everything. So when this concept was shared to me by Preeti, I actually intuitively wanted to say no. But then, while leaving, she did tell me an insight which somebody had told her that, a person comes out of the closet, it just doesn't end. The closet just keeps becoming bigger and bigger. So I said, what does that mean? I was that ignorant, right? I mean, so for me,
But that's
this
beautifully put.
entire journey has been just that one line stuck to me so much. So when I read the first draft, obviously nothing of that sort was there in the film. So when me, Akshat and Suman, we sat down, the entire focus was some way or the other, we have to keep talking about this, not in as many words, but it's about how does the closet just keeps becoming bigger. People just enter your closet. So, and yes, so it was very scary because when you start off with something like this, you're always, yeah, am I going to be just wrong?
Yeah,
I don't want
it's
to be
true.
wrong because
Yeah.
I'm going to be exposed.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and
true,
it's this stress of always trying to be right.
Yeah.
So we had a consultant and we would keep sharing. But it was mostly intuition because once you start writing, you start the process of entirely character development. Everything is pretty rigorous, for me at least, and even for Akshat and Suman, they joined my way of doing
Okay.
that particular way. and we really dug deeper, and we were kind of, this is how intuitively we would kind of create Shardul or Suman or Rimjim or Guru, everyone, and then we would just bounce it off to him.
Okay.
And so many things. So I was like a curious kid, and a lot of times I would be asking really basic questions too, and which would shock Akshat and Suman, and they would be laughing. So a lot of them are also incorporated in the film, like the versatile thing or the end where he's talking about
किंग किंग हो सकता है, किंग क्वीन हो सकता है, क्वीन क्वीन नहीं हो सकता। You don't know? वो लड़कियां हैं, मैं लड़कों के बारे में बात कर रहा था।
Yeah.
all of that, all those were actually my queries, my questions, because I wanted to know everything.
Yeah. But the tone is very good natured.
Yeah.
The tone has got, there's nothing squeaky about it. You're not like hands up in the air.
but
It's
but
very-
the fear actually ended when we had a narration to a large group, and suddenly they were fighting amongst themselves, and their politics came in. What is right, what is wrong? And then I realized there's nothing, no absolute
there's no
right.
yeah.
There's no rule book that we have to follow.
Yeah.
Let's follow our gut instinct. And so intuition has actually played
Yeah.
the biggest role while making this film.
Yeah, because the film, the heart is in, it's totally in the right place. You haven't, there's not a single note that is off key. Badhaai Do is a coming of age film for our idea of the Indian family, I think. And it's also something that kind of shakes us at the core of what we think is our culture. So all the gay men I spoke to who watched the film were like, Rajkumar Rao is so hot. I could show you texts. I was like, hey, did you watch Badhaai Do? What do you think? He's so hot.
देख नहीं रहा है चुईया दांत मार गई रात को
क्या आप भी भाई से
And it's true. Of course, he's a brilliant actor. But there was this fine balance, You took some cliche, like you didn't go full camp, but not too macho. And so there's that weightlifting, then there's the porn stash, and then there's the younger lover. So there's all those tick marks. But then there's the unexpected also. Like, that thing where he's struggling with the jar, or he's needing to be the man when people have come over.
हेलो हरी चटनी लेके आओ
It just disarms you. And I'm a very skeptical viewer with stuff like that because the track record is not great with portraying queerness. So it just disarms you. And I want to know, when you're creating the way he looks and presenting and how he presents himself, what were you all talking about? When you were building his character and his physicality and everything, what were the discussions like?
The basic thing was we were trying to make there have been queer films which have been done before, but not in the commercial, whatever you call
Correct,
the so-called
This is a
commercial setup.
big audience
Because
thing,
where
yeah.
big audience, you want to reach out to a larger audience.
not
so
preaching
that
to the
people,
choir here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the ones who already know, but at the same time, don't alienate them too, where you're
Correct.
dumbing it down so much that, hey man, I know all of this.
Right.
So it was a fine balance that we had to do. But what we realized was most of the queer film, and there is, if I'm talking to a person who's homophobic, that's our last audience, right? For them, it's such a big stereotype that a gay person is essentially effeminate.
Correct.
And a girl is butch. She would like to dress up this thing. So we just wanted to just break that notion completely. To start off with, not that the effeminate or the butch don't exist, but we didn't want to start off with our main protagonist to have
Yeah.
those traits.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about Raj, that's exactly where it started. That, yes, that's also a cliche,
Yeah.
but not for an Hindi audience
Right.
thing.
Right.
So, it's a cliche because the bodybuilder or the gym
Yeah,
body,
yeah,
but not to a lot of other people,
Yeah.
especially the heterosexuals
Yeah.
and the homophobics and all of that.
Yeah.
So our
And also, there's no one kind of gay person,
Yeah.
right? Whatever it is, that whole spectrum
so
of the way you
the
look. and present.
outer appearance at least kind of throws you off,
Right.
that they don't look the kind that I thought
Yeah.
is gay. Like
Campy about
so
that,
nothing.
yeah.
We just wanted to resist from that, and we did incorporate a little bit in other characters.
Right.
So which probably by then we have actually carried off a journey. So when Guru enters, he is the guy who has all those traits.
He's
a little
beautiful. He's
delicate. So,
beautiful.
but by then we are already 1.5 hours into the
Right,
film.
right.
So and you are kind of entered this
Yeah.
this whole space. So that was a conscious decision that we will
So it
do
was
that.
conscious. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
amazing
very
because it
conscious,
feels
yeah.
very natural. Like even with Suman, like that outward independence,
Hmm.
but there's this incredible vulnerability. And of course, Bhumi Pednekar, she's an incredible actress as well. But it rings very true, even in my personal experience. Like the tomboyishness, it's not overtly played, and the femininity is very much there,
Yeah.
very much there, and really resonant with a lot of the younger lesbians I meet. Like it's very, very, very tender. And again, I'm assuming same thing whilst developing her character and the way she dresses, her body
Absolutely.
language.
For her, it was even bigger of a problem because she's a PT teacher.
Right.
So her dressing could be misconstrued as somebody who's
Who's
just
dressing
masculine
butch. Yeah.
or more
Yeah.
butch,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think here, even our costume designer Rohit Chaturvedi, he was absolutely beautiful, brilliant.
Yeah.
I think I thank my stars that we actually took him on board, because his understanding and then the way he played with the colors for
Yeah.
Bhumi, so the femininity is actually there delicately
Yeah.
whenever she's not in those dresses.
Right.
And Bhumi and Raj, both of them are incredible actors. So even their physicality, the way they imbibed it and the way they played
They
it.
played
So she was a
beautifully.
very strong woman.
Yeah.
But we were very sure that don't come across as so strong that you are in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
There has to be, so very stupid example, but I would always say, like Jay and Viru.
Yeah.
You are Jay, you're Amitabh Bachchan, so you have that superiority thing, but don't play it so up front.
Yeah.
You're just cool about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how she just became even more delicate and not so
Yeah.
uh,
And this is me,
outrageously.
I'm like,
yeah,
yeah.
she was always then understated in that sense.
And so
She wasn't feisty
No.
always, but when she wanted to be, she was.
Yeah.
But vulnerable too, because
There was a vulnerability right through. And the thing is that, like you said, like the closet gets bigger. Okay. Like straight presenting in society, it just happens all the time. Like here, everyone is straight presenting. A lot of people who are in the closet. And that part where Shardul is rounding up lovers in the park and his constable is like, lesbian, homosexual, whatever. And Shardul is like,
देश का माहौल खराब कर रखा है इन लोगों ने
you've treated all of these incidents very lightly, despite the fact that actually you're taking a big bat and whacking us with some dissonance over there. And so the idea even of the lavender marriage itself is to build a lie of a life so that you can live as honestly as possible it's an extremely claustrophobic society. But, it's true of other social contracts. Like most conservative societies will not allow you individual expression. Is this, I mean, I know you come from a writing background and everything, but you must have seen this in society, right? This whole thing of this push-pull of your children not being allowed to be who they are.
absolutely, and as parents also we realize that, but at the same time probably making the same mistakes. On a daily basis, probably me and my wife discuss about this. In our own head,
Yeah.
we are we want the best and all of that, but are we pushing it too much? Because we've had our own worldview. So when I always reflect back upon, so we've done that even with the characters, not just
Yeah.
with their sexuality. But Shardul never wanted to be a cop. He
Right.
just got that job
Right.
where he wanted to be a bodybuilder. Or Suman, she wanted to be an athlete.
Right, a
But at
national
the right
athlete. Yeah.
time, the parents did not support her to go for a camp which is outside.
Yeah.
So which is why she's stuck with being a PT teacher. So all of them, even in their careers, are doing something that they never really wished.
Yeah.
And so much of family, and I'm talking about so many. It's not about just joint family.
I think the pressure, that's where the pressure from the parents comes, because you know how hard it's going to be. Like even if you have a gay child, you know how hard it's going to be, and you dread it.
Yeah.
And that's what it. I do believe as much evil as parents do, it usually comes from a good place. It usually comes from a place of fear. Maybe that's not a good place.
I hope my daughter is listening to this.
Child, listen to us. Listen, we mean well. Okay, okay. So now, so as usual, you're in this particular film, all the relationships, they bear this burden of who knows and who doesn't know, right? And of course, the family doesn't know. And that's the thing with this oppressive family closeness, right? There is no real honest intimacy, and it is our hypocrisy. It's the one that we live every day. And then when there's a massive blow up because she's been outed and she runs to her father for comfort, and he says,
मेरे घर ही क्यों
And that part is really very heavy because you acknowledge that this typical family can treat homosexuality like it's a chronic illness. And even though at the end the dad does redeem himself to some extent, uh, what does Sumi think of men in general? What does her character think of men? Like, because she's kind of iffy with her brother, and she thinks she has a close connection with, but by and large she kind of doesn't think very much of them, right?
So yeah, we did like the father. I see again. It's like when we are making characters or developing them, right? We are always trying to make where characters are not correct all the time.
All right.
And see, it's the way your point of view is, right? If I make a film about Sumi's mother or Sumi's father, you will empathize with them too. It's not like, yeah, I have to understand this. Give me some time at least to
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
where I'm coming from. For that particular moment, when Sumi is saying that, I always, in that scene actually, I've played this out in my head several times, that I'm going to be caught or, something is going to happen. And I've always imagined what my mother's reaction is going to be. And that is exactly how she reacted. Nothing shocking. My brother too. I expected the same. But strangely enough, every time I imagined this thing would play out in my head, you are the only one who would kind of tell me it's okay. And he's still not saying anything. So she's urging him, yeah, say something. Even if you
And
want to
even if
just
it's the
vent
wrong
out.
thing,
And he
yeah.
still doesn't. And what he says just crushes her heart. So that's the worst hit. So for me, the mother throwing utensils is all okay because I knew this guy telling you're a bitch or whatever, all of that, I kind of understand because I know that they don't have any kind of sense to, grapple with all of this. But I just thought maybe. And I think we are being unfair to the older generation also who have not understood. If you come from their space and you give them time, maybe one day they will. So that's how we kind of, for Sumi with her men and all of that. I think we had a beautiful scene earlier, very very early in the draft, where she and Shardul, when they go for Diwali to Rishikesh and all of that. So he's always had a beard right from the
Right,
beginning,
right.
and in the school, so which is why his sisters and cousins and all
Think
of
he's
them are
like a
saying,
big man on
"अरे
a
SR
turn.
के
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
यहाँ गया,
yeah.
colony का ये
Yeah,
वो
yeah,
सब."
yeah.
Even here, Nazneen or
Yeah.
everywhere, because it was so. It had to be that I have to hide my this thing. So always I have had to have this beard.
Yeah.
So he asks her, "Did you have a boyfriend?" She says, "No, मैं तो अच्छी लड़की थी ना." And you didn't want to. I
Yeah.
loved
It's
that
beautiful.
line
Yeah,
where
that's
just
lovely.
one line.
Yeah.
You don't need to. You're never
Right.
pressured
Yeah.
because you're a nice girl. You'll never have boyfriend, and nobody's going to question your
Yeah, yeah,
sexuality.
yeah. Sumi's mother's Mon Vrat, okay?
Hmm.
But she still needs to tell her kids what to do and how to live. It's like, again, it's a lovely allegory because I feel that, that's how mothers feel, actually. You're not allowed to say anything. That's the kind of trap you're in all the time. Now, the thing is that, I really wanted, and it's just my punter reaction, but I really wanted the mother and the daughter to have a closer relationship. Like, she needed an older female ally, I feel. And so I'm curious, like, did you guys discuss this? Because there is a distance between the two of them. And does Sumi look down on her mother? Or does she have some grudges against her mother? Or what? Like, why was there no real reaction? Like, no kind of, I didn't find that kind of deep connection between the two of them. Is this something that even came up, or it
Yeah,
just,
yeah. No, I mean, again, it's about if she had an ally in a mother, I think she would have
The
been
story
a
would be
different person. The entire story would have been different.
So is that what the
But
Monrath is about? To show
yeah,
how like
absolutely.
traditional and
The
rooted?
Monrath
Yeah.
was essentially about कि मैं Monrath रखूंगी so that लड़की का शादी हो जाए. So ये 9 से 6 बजे
So
तक
that
का.
pressure is there
Yeah,
on her.
always that I'm doing so much for you. I'm praying so much for you so that you get married. So there's always this
Okay.
thing of, so that's why I said if you look at it from the mother's side, she is essentially wanting the best for her.
What she
But
thinks
her worldview is so warped
Yeah, yeah.
that you can't question that. So like even the father redeeming, right? It wasn't so.
It's not a big dramatic redeeming.
No, but
redemption.
at the same time,
yeah.
again, a thing which we didn't do, or probably it's my problem that I did not fight enough for it, or whatever. I didn't actually even tell. It's a thing of, if you obviously you've seen the film. So the end, when they're all sitting for the
Yeah.
Havan, there's a ting tong and the DSP comes in. So
Right.
that was our moment, right, of the closet. So the closet was so big, where inside it's so utopian, everybody is behaving the way they want to. Yes, the father has entered there, so he's redeemed himself by just being there.
Yeah.
Need not be so heroic and all of that, right?
Correct.
The reality was, the bell rang, everything. Rimjim just stepped out because now there's somebody who's from outside who's come in. So it's all disrupted. Now the sham again begins. And then there is a slow track out and you just fade out. And we did fade. That was the end of the film, actually. I think the impact would have been really, really strong. Um, People wouldn't have said ki it's a happy ending or
Yeah, it
anything
would
of
not
that side.
be,
It would
no.
be like, oh God. But that's their
That's
life.
true,
That's
that's
the
what their life
reality.
is.
So my editor and my partner, my work partner for like 25 years, Kirti, he said, okay, there's one way, because you're feeling so bad about it that you can't end there. Let's do a fade out and a long fade out. And there will be some people who will be saying, what? The film can't end here, yeah, man. I mean, it's
Yeah,
impossible.
yeah.
And the first, the screening that we did to the studio, there was a collective gasp and saying, no, this can't end here.
So
And then
then-
suddenly it comes up.
रिमझिम तो सुम्मी के साथ बैठो बैठो जाओ माँ को होना जरूरी होता है पूजा में जाओ
Okay,
So
okay,
it's
okay.
essentially copying. I mean, see, I do feel that maybe it was too subtle for people to get it, but the fade out was really long in the theater and everyone. So there was like, ye kya ho gaya? So it's a very art house kind of
Yeah.
thing. You tuck and you
No,
end
but
it.
it does. I watched a few videos of your interviews, and you said you like romance in the movies, like you prefer it, and the story between Suman and Rimjim is a proper romance. The way they meet, and then the awkwardness, and everyone was like, "Oh, Path Lab, take my blood, baby." There were all these tweets. It was really bad, and then even the arguments and the jealousy and all. It's gorgeous. It's lightly done. Also, I was kind of really pleased by the way, they both wanted a baby. They both wanted to be mums. And, anecdotally, I can tell you, like, the ideal family is two mums. It's like lesbians are the most efficient parental unit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you might have had a great dad, but I'm just saying, like, it's like, like a friend was telling me, she's like, it's like, there's twice as much mommy guilt. Imagine the jam. It's like growing up in gold. So tell me, what was the feedback? Like, what was the conversation like? Have you met people who've said, oh, yeah, this is amazing? And, like...
Never really thought about that. But
think
twice
about
the
it.
mom.
Double the mommy guilt.
Incredible. No, the reaction for Rimjim and Suman's relationship was incredible. I
Yeah,
mean,
no? It was just lovely. It was, again, so much restraint,
and
No,
again, a conscious choice,
Yeah.
which see the and this choice has been even in my first film. But what happened was, for Hunter, he's this guy who's a player and all of that, and there was no single sex scene. So my
Yeah.
DOP used to call it a Walt Disney film about sex. So it was, I didn't want to show it. Why do you want to show it? And till the end, it was like we didn't have. I have actually shot it later when the distributors and all of them came in. They said, "Yaar, adult picture, adult to banao." So thank God. I mean, all of that. So my idea is, why do you have to show it? The romance is good enough. Let's play with all of that. Here it was again because I'm doing something, so I'm not averse to it. But at the same time, I was. If we're talking to a homophobic audience too, let's keep it with those tropes that they are used to watching.
Yeah.
A man and a woman, the same thing should happen here. The same kind of song should happen. The same kind of tenderness should
Yeah,
happen,
yeah.
rather than get into the bedroom of it,
Right.
because that's where they start getting, yaar, ye galat hai. Aisa
Yeah,
karke. So we
yeah.
kind of tried to stay away from it and celebrate the romance part,
it's
like even the
beautifully
Guru
done.
and Shardul.
So yeah, so I
Everything
mean,
is
also like spin-off movie about Guru and Shardul, please. Like, oh my God, like Guru is everything that Shardul would want to be at some level, right? Like he's comfortable with himself. He's so assured that he's made the first move, and he's also like, I love the fact that he didn't want to be a daddy. He's like, it's not for me. Like it's all right. It's just gorgeous. And So, when you were talking to your consultant, did he give you all any inputs? Like, it takes longer to accept a deeper relationship. It's much easier to have a relationship that's more like a situationship, what the young people call, rather than a long term. You understand what I'm saying? Like with people who are cishet, you date, you get married, blah 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 blah. It's more or less those same milestones.
Correct.
Here, there are no milestones. Plus, there's social pressure. Plus, whatever. So, you're also dealing with a different personality because you've been, treated badly or whatever. So, was there any conversation about developing the relationship and whether that changes because of the situation of the sexuality?
So yeah, I think I mean, in a way, yeah, that's the entire thing that we spoke about. So but for Shardul, because he's also not moonlighting or whatever, all
Yeah,
of that,
yeah.
right?
He's not
Because
just dating. Yeah.
because he's also a cop.
Yeah.
So he's incredibly insecure. So when he does land the younger chap,
Yeah.
Kabir, he is holding on to him so dearly.
in love?
He is.
He wants love.
Yeah, and he wants
that
love. But,
yeah.
there is absolutely nothing in common after a point of time,
Yeah.
which is where he sees a parallel. That's exactly how my first
His-
relationship
yeah,
was.
yeah.
So when Guru comes into his life, that's like a breath of fresh air. Because here is one person who's so liberated, and
Yeah.
he's probably had all the allies, right? These guys have never had anything. So he's so cool.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of person that I would probably want to stay.
Yeah.
So he's always been looking for that. So we never went with Shardul as trying to, especially because he's also living in a smaller town
Yeah.
where getting caught or outed or found or all of that was incredibly tough for him.
Yeah, because that thing of like, who do you want to grow old with?
Yeah.
In this case, you see the two of them and you feel that they both want to grow old with each other.
Yeah.
And it's not as glamorous as the bodybuilding situation.
Like
but
he
it's
has this
beautiful.
idea also, right? He tells Kabir that I'm buying this flat where you will be then staying as a PG.
Yeah.
So it's a 3-bedroom, but that's how we'll be living.
Yeah.
So when he's saying let's live for a longer period and we'll be together forever and ever, it's always ever and ever. A sham is also in the plan.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's obviously not this ki arey yaar, then the society is going to be so liberated that we are going to live.
He's
So
quite
he's
realistic.
already made
Yeah.
peace with it, and he's kind of planning.
Judy Garland, she had a lavender marriage, and she advised her daughter later to marry gay men because they make the best husbands. And there's a lot of conversation though about the depth and the fulfillment you can have from a platonic friendship with a man. And you take any weird romantic potential out. And the thing is, between Shardul and Sumi, okay, what I really enjoyed is that they live together. But like literally they would not have sex even if it was the apocalypse and it was their job to repopulate the planet. They're like, no way, like this is... And I think that's what when they say, I'm married my best friend. But actually that's what marrying your best friend should be. And it's like, were there any scenes that you decided against? For example, that scene in the car. Again, you could have taken it somewhere. You could have, it's a very normal thing. They're both a little drunk. There's a lot of pressure, whatever. You just held back. You were like, no way, not on your Nelly. So like there was...
Oh,
was there a
absolutely,
conversation
absolutely.
about that at all?
Lots,
Yeah.
and fights.
Fights,
Not just conversation. So the entire thing was when the film was actually being thought of and all of that. So I always had in my mind that end sequence where there's a baby and it's it's a collective thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how in my head I was stuck.
Yeah.
This is how the
That's
closet
utopia.
become bigger. So and I was sold to it because this is what is unexpected as a craft, as just a story, not about the politics or anything of that sort. So I was very sure that she has to have a baby.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nahi yaar, Akshat, they should actually make out. They're drunk, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Akshat and Suman were probably short of killing me that day.
Oh, lovely. What a nice thing,
And
but yeah.
yeah, but we
But
fought
how nice to have
a
that
lot.
conversation and
Yeah,
for you to
yeah,
say it
and he
also.
just said, no, sir, it can't be. And we were in Shimla, and I think we didn't speak. I mean, he didn't speak because he was really, really, and thank God,
Yeah.
that he kind of told me. But I said, fine, you give me a solution, but I still want the baby.
Right.
And then that adoption thing kind of happened. And this is all
And
nascent
that
stage.
itself added
And then I said,
a
yeah,
layer.
this is good.
Yeah. but good for you. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the kind of
So if
dynamic
the
we need.
restraint has
Yeah.
come, it's all thanks to Akshat and Suman because they
Amazing.
really fought hard.
And even the adoption thing brings a lovely nuance to
Yeah.
the whole discussion. It does educate people who would not normally know how
Absolutely.
difficult
Otherwise, it
you
was
know?
very typical what I had told him, which was very horrible. He's like, बाद में they've separated or whatever they're called, and then उसको उल्टी हो गया. And she's pregnant. And then he's like, "अरे क्या
Yeah,
करें?
within 10
Now
seconds.
we have to.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
No, but the car scene also, uh, it's a beautiful scene for
It's
me because
beautiful.
all of us were in love because we said, okay, this is the scene which is now, till now, if the homophobics haven't converted or haven't realized, यार नहीं होता है यार, impossible है. Now हम आपको बारिश देंगे, अच्छा BGM देंगे, सारा जो हिंदी फिल्म का आप लोगों का ट्रोप्स है, we'll give it to you, all of it. And it still does not happen. Dude, wake up. उनको तो लगता है कि हाँ, here it will happen.
Yeah.
So there we shot two options. So one was they kiss and cut to, which is what we kept in the edit, was they kiss and then cut to they're brushing their teeth vigorously and people would laugh and all of that. And then we had test screenings and all of those started happening. There was one person, just one person, okay? And he came and he said, listen, you're showing not two, but three queer relations. Three love stories that way, with a Kabir and a Shardu, a Guru and a Rimjim. Never ever did you show a kiss, right?
Yeah.
But for a heterosexual kiss, you're keeping
That's
a kiss.
okay.
That's so bad. I said, shit. So thank God we had shot one where they didn't kiss. They just
Right.
came close. I said, just even if one person feels that, I think we should just knock it off. So at the expense of laughter, and it's very dear. Laughter is very dear. You never let go of laughter.
I know.
But we did let go because we said, no, nobody should question this because this is then being wrong.
Good for you,
Yeah.
man.
So that guy, thank God.
No,
again,
but thank God also it's good for you because I'm telling you something. That is why the movie doesn't have any false notes in it. I'm telling you, I was telling these guys, like, I watch movies like this. Like, oh my God, it's going to happen. Something's going to be terrible. Nothing, not a false note. Now, I love all the mothers in the movie. Every single one of them. Like, each of them is like a total character, okay? And it's like, I found it a very nuanced way of showing how womanhood and motherhood and middle age and being the matriarch and whatever else, it can turn you into a beast. Okay, there are these unacknowledged hopes and desires. You just thrown them into the mix. Then it's almost like you don't see it. So when Rekha says like,
हमारे लिए तो अपनी चॉइस का ठाकुर लड़का भी बना था।
शादी से पहले कोई था क्या?
एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हैं। इमेजिनेशन नन है क्या तुम्हारा?
but there is that moment there where it's just unacknowledged. You just drop it there. If you want to pick it up, you can pick it up. And Seema Pava, of course, the matriarch, and her role is to convince them to do something, but also make it feel like it was their idea. So that is the way we operate. This is that whole Indian family dynamic. But like, I want to talk about baby. The kids would say she is so baby. And there has been this conversation: is it laziness? Does she not want to be a mother? But I think what happens is a lot of women spend their lives living at some sort of, there's the bottom of the arranged marriage food chain, the joint family food chain. They are infantilized. They're in effect infantilized. So, it can be like somebody else is running the kitchen. Somebody else is doing something else. So baby remains baby until she's 75 years old. And when I was watching the film, I was wondering that suppose Shardul had come to her and told her that, I'm gay. Given her personality, what do you think would have happened? Like, would it have empowered her in some way? Would she have been his ally? This is completely hypothetical, of course, but what do you think?
Wow. This I never thought. But wouldn't have been possible if you look at baby. I mean, even the way probably Shardul looks at her. I think you can turn it around on the head, and say ki even for him, he got the maximum love, at least the way it's shown, right? Was from Seema Pava, actually. Because he was the sole male progeny. See, he wouldn't have disliked it because he was in the receiver's end. So he's not going to be there, "Arey yaar, it's being unfair for the other women," or anything of that
Right.
sort. He just got so much love from Seema Power. I think, again, if at all he would have thought she's so blindly in love with me, I think she's the one whom I can, if at all, wildest dreams, it will be her, not my mother. Because the mother, as a character itself, I have interacted more with Seema Pava rather than my mother. Truly speaking, in that whole entire thing, even the love from the sisters was immense. Which is why when he's coming out, he's saying,
हमेशा औकात से ज्यादा प्यार मिला है आपको. पर फिर भी ना अकेला ही फील किया हमने अपने आप को. अपना सच बांट ही नहीं पाए किसी के साथ हम. है ही नहीं कोई.
I think deeper down, and now again, just because you asked this question, I'm also thinking wild. Maybe his entire thing would have been that Seema Power is the one who could kind of blindly, just because of the blind love that she has for me. Like finally, if they've accepted even Nazneen, who's a Muslim,
Yeah.
and they've said, "Arey kar dete hain yaar," the everything is being convinced by actually Seema
Seema.
Power. She's taking that decision. Yeah, he's a nice kid. He's not gone against us and married her without our consent. I think we need to be large-hearted and accept it. So that's how you start off. So her love for him, so despite all the wrongs, again, if you look at it from the other lens, she comes across as this matriarch and all of that, strong and obviously
Yeah.
flawed and wrong. But that's from this point of view. From her point of view, she's got only love for him and thinking about it. So I think he could have never ever shared it with baby, is what
Okay,
I feel. I
okay,
mean,
okay.
because
Also,
she was
baby is
never
so-
hands-on
Yeah.
a mother to.
Okay.
And when we were thinking of baby also, it's the same thing. Whatever you said is absolutely. We don't want to make a mother India. We don't want to. We just want to be subversive with the mother because we're tired of the mother always being the sacrificing one.
Yeah.
She's probably the one who would eat first. And say, "Aayega, khayega, chalega." And this is what we were going, and obviously tripping because it was also for comedic purpose.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were realizing that it's such a cool way of depicting a mother. Yeah, not every woman is just going to be a good. What is this good
What is a good
mother?
mother?
I'm not, and I'm lazy. Is maybe she's over the years become lazy or a shirker or all of that.
Yeah.
But what a character! I mean, we love the
Shiva
character, and
just-
plus what
just
Sheba
hit it
did
out
to-
of the park.
Shiva was always confused and said, "क्या क्या क्या लिखा है? मैं क्या करूं? मैं पागल लग रही हूँ कभी-कभी." ये was up. And the delicate way that she performed made it believable. Actually, otherwise it could have gone anywhere. I think nobody could have pulled it off better than Sheba.
No, all the acting was super subtle.
Yeah.
I think that for you keep saying commercial film, commercial film, but there was so much restraint in
Arey,
the
please say
actors.
commercial.
Well, it was commercial, but that's amazing. No, I'm saying
Again,
that's
when we
what-
wrote it, me and Akshat said, "Sir, बहुत push हो रहा है ये." तो हमने बोला, "यार commercial," and we pushed it. This is our maximum way of saying gags. देखो यार, इतना सब कर रहे हैं commercial, but still we get it. हाँ, it's थोड़ा subtle है.
no, but
we
you
we
know,
also had discussed about baby is there's a, I mean, for us again it was a tough one to crack, to cinematically also. How do you, when the cat's out of the bag,
Right.
that sequence was the toughest for us. And prior to that sequence, because we didn't want people to lead up to this situation
Yeah,
that
yeah.
अरे अभी होने वाला है, अभी पकड़े
Yeah,
जाएंगे.
yeah.
You have to take them off guard, that
Right.
there is a collective
Yeah.
gasp when you
when
see
she walks
that
in on the
she-
girls, yeah.
And the entire discussion was, baby will not understand if she doesn't see it.
Oh.
So that had to happen. It can't be that मैंने एक पार्क में देख लिया या इधर देख लिया और शक होने लगा. ऐसा नहीं, because baby is such a character. She will be alarmed and she will realize what this is only if she sees it in the act.
Okay.
So that's
So
that
she's a
was
bit simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that part where Seema Power's character tells her, "You
सुनो बेबी, बहुत बेटा बेटा करके बात कर ली, अब जरा सास बनो उसकी.
सास बने कैसे
Again, one more quiet slap to the audience. You were slapping us right through. And this is, of course, how women uphold the patriarchy. They do it for their own survival.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So what immediately stands out in Badhaai Do, right off the bat, is the way we pay attention to identity. Okay, it's caste identity, religious identity, the whole what will people say. But this is the same society that ignores the most intimate of all our identities, which is our sexuality and our gender. And I think that you really, without explaining it, explained it to people. Did anyone come up to you and say this, like, bro, like, I never thought of it this way, or...
No, I mean, even like the scene where when he's taking down the complaint from
Yeah.
Suman, and he says, sing. So he says Punjabi, then he Thakur. And then he gives her a look.
Yeah.
ये अच्छा ये तो मेरे same caste की है.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then my plan is अच्छा ये भी तो हो सकती है. So
Yeah.
so it is so deeply entrenched
In
you know.
us, yeah.
Like even like Suman wrote a beautiful line, अरे गे तो क्या हुआ संस्कार भूल जाए क्या?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that I think was a winner, for us, and it was incredible that come what may, this thing is not going to go off. It's not
Yeah.
like you're liberated, or the chauvinism is going to go off, or the patriarchy, or anything of that sort. That is so deep rooted.
Yeah.
And
I think we must have-
how do you coexist?
Yeah.
So it's like always, right? When we were talking about it as characters, when you're developing, just because you're a gay person, you're going to be all good because you have gone through so much of trauma. So you are actually going to be a nicer person to somebody else. Like there's a beautiful scene that I love in the film, which again is so subtle that nobody catches it on, was this WWE or WWF kind of a scene, right? So we had plugged it again because we had found out from research that gay men watch a lot of wrestling,
Right.
for obvious
Yeah,
reasons.
yeah.
And so he's always watching that, and Rim Jim makes this comment, what's such a gay thing to do. So when he's in his hometown and he sees his nephew
nephew
watching
watching, yeah.
it, he is so stressed. And when he realizes that he has a girlfriend, because initially he's just saying, no, I don't like girls, I don't do this. He is palpitating and, getting those judgmental looks from Suman. Like, what the hell, yourself? So it's so
It
complicated.
was very complex.
Yeah.
I agree.
Ki,
Yeah.
We did it in a comedic way, but then finally the tone was never make it so heavy, like even the homo cop or all of those. It started with humor, but you end with somewhere that it's finally so tragic that he himself prays that nobody in the family is gay.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to go through the same hardship as me,
Yeah.
which is so tragic, right? They're all living in that.
Yeah.
and-
It is, yeah. That part was extreme. There was this. I have this gay friend who says that homophobia has made society in such a way that men have to do very complicated things in order to touch each other. And it's so beautiful because, men don't touch each other, even platonically.
No, which is what,
They
right?
don't hold each other. They don't, girls are constantly like, getting into each other's faces and, hugging. Men are so scared, and that is the biggest tragedy of homophobia. Okay, so you don't shy away from showing any bias right through. Shardul, he's not keen on attending domestic disputes, given that he's stationed at the women's police station, and but he doesn't have a problem taking orders from women. He's cool with that. But he just thinks he's born for bigger police work because he's the man. And when they get married and the visitors come and he starts bossing Sumi around, and the same thing where just being gay doesn't mean that you have to forget your values and all. So this sexism that is inherent in our upbringing, and it's very much part of this. In other interviews it has turned up also. Did gay men specifically respond to this? Like this it's sexism light, chauvinism light.
They loved it.
They
They said, yeah,
it's correct.
yeah. I mean, it's, I am not like that, but then, yeah, it's very prevalent. It's so obvious, no?
No,
So, yeah, they love this thing that absolutely,
rang
man,
true.
you hit the nail. Like even in LGBTQIA, the gay men are the ones who, I mean, obviously the reaction is, "Arey yaar, they're too much in your face," and all of that. So much, that's so much of aggression. And they say, "Ha ha, wo to hai." So they'll agree to it and all of that. Yeah. I
So
mean,
that's great.
those
Yeah,
are-
that was, I felt it was very true. And I was just wondering whether in your research it came up. And that's good to know. Because I do feel that women have the harder deal, even if there is equivalence in the queerness. Like, we're both gay, but, men play act within the structures they exist in. because to fit in, like at work or in society, you have to play act to fit in and to succeed. But I feel with women, you're kind of vulnerable everywhere if you're still in the closet. And if you're a lesbian, in some ways, it's even harder. There is, there are all sorts of like grim realities about that. And also, blackmail is very much part of the gay experience in India. It is a very much, there are horror stories about both men and women. And so that whole bit, with Raju, okay, firstly, brilliantly cast, okay, that typical harmless little
Engineering kid. Nerd.
yes.
Pavam.
Sorry,
Pavam
you
kind of
didn't
looking.
care. Yeah, you didn't care about the cliches there. I said, and he's not typically scary, and he's a stalker. And he's also one of those weirdos who thinks they can cure lesbians, which is like a really awful thing. And in real life, Sumi may not have gone to the cops, or if she had gone to the cops, would they have reacted properly? And what I'm curious about is when Shardul is taking this down, is he even aware of how frightening the potential of it is? Because later on, when she meets him and when he's following her around, she's like, "What are you doing? Like, you're fucking stalking me," He's not aware at all, right? He has no idea what it's like to be a lesbian woman. And when you were talking to people, did they have any idea? Was like in your like research, did people say like, "Oh, we didn't think about that," or
No, again, very organically, just because we made him a cop. See, again, these are all structurally done things
Right.
for a film, right? And how will they meet for the first time? And all of that, right? And when will this thing come out?
But it's
and
very
his proposition.
important. It's an
So
important
just
thing.
because we made him a cop, and we always wanted to show, because till then, in the film, audience doesn't know that Shardul is gay. So, he's still a guy who's wanting to marry Nazneen. And so we are holding back that information. So only that we are exploring is Suman and her character and her vulnerability, and not having an ally, or,
Yeah.
and obviously being catfished. She has nowhere to go to tell anything, even her brother. So, like, it's such a typical situation when they are in the Xerox shop and this guy comes in and says, "Ye kaise hai wo kaun tha?" So if he was bothering me and if I was heterosexual, I think I would have just told my brother he's bothering me,
Yeah.
and the brother would have probably
Dealt
done
with it,
something.
yeah.
But just because she knew that she would be outed, she can't
Yeah,
even
that's what I'm
use that,
saying.
and it was so sad
It's
for
a
her.
trap, yeah.
So so obviously, I again, sometimes you have to take this leap of faith and stuff like that for story purposes. Yes, maybe not too many people would have gone to the cops also. But for us, for the story to go ahead, we needed
I
to
think
go.
it just
And Mahila Thana was one thing that. So again, we did visit a few Mahila Thanas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we never came across anybody complaining about this, right?
Okay.
I mean, nobody did tell us. It's mostly for इसने उसको मारा या इसने इसको किया, dowry case, ये वो. Those are the typical things where this Mahila Thana is probably there. And so yeah, we had to do it because this is where it kind of happened. So we did not. It was done more because it kind of helps us go forward
with the
with
story.
our storyline. So not too much of.
But it brought up-
yes,
it brought up a
the
very
scare,
important
we
issue.
always wanted to do that. That she's so vulnerable and all
Yeah.
of that, and obviously he's. So again, it's a fine balance again of Shardul, right?
Yeah. The whole Indian family obsession with our children's sex lives. Okay. Badhaai Do is the perfect vehicle to discuss this. There's a lot of chatter, like when Anup says, sex for procreation is a duty. There is no like joy involved.
दायित्व होता है.
It's like it sums it up. There's like a Nike swoosh sound and the end. Like that's all it is. And just I wonder in general, do families even realize it? Like, do they even realize what they're doing? Like, does a film like this hold up the mirror? Like, there's a weird thing that you're so repressed in some ways and then so obsessed with your children's sex lives, even if it's for a duty situation.
No, but again, it's a typical thing, right? I mean, we are always holding up the mirror. But when somebody else is watching that, it's mostly, I'm not like that, the others are.
Okay.
So it's a typical situation. You ask anyone, अरे यार मैं ऐसा थोड़ी हूँ यार, ये तो हाँ ऐसे करते हैं. Whereas everybody is interested in कि बच्चा कब पैदा कर रहे हो,
Yeah.
ये कब पैदा कर रहे हो, and they are always nosy. Even the neighbors are nosy, and everyone wants to know what is
Yes.
up to you. So
Yeah, it is quite unique to our situation. Like, for example, baby being put in charge, she's being put in charge of her son getting it on. Basically, that's her job. She's been sent
Yeah.
with the one thing. And so I'm saying that baby na, has not had any work given to her for the last 25 years, okay?
Correct.
Does she even care? Or even here, she's just doing it because she's been told to do it, right? Like, she's like, that. It's almost tragic at that point. Like, when she's being...
No, but yeah, I mean, obviously she wouldn't have wanted this job, but then now that she's been given, again, and she's always saying it verbatim, whatever it is there, like she would
She's
write
reading
it
it
down.
out, yeah.
There was again one more scene which we've edited out, where she goes and meets the parents. So basically over the phone, Seema Power's character, I mean, Taiji is telling her, अरे और उनको भी जाके बताओ कि उनकी भी तो कोई जिम्मेदारी होती है, बेटी को समझाओ करके, उनकी भी तो जिम्मेदारी होती है. And then we cut to, she's saying उनकी भी तो जिम्मेदारी होती है. And then the mother and father of Sumi are sitting, किनकी जिम्मेदारी? तो
She's just, okay. She's
so
just
but that scene
parroting.
got cut. But she's also having fun. I don't think... like watching the adult film, अरे adult ही तो है, देखो ना यार. So it is like ठीक है यार. I mean, she also wants कि कर लो यार बच्चा.
Yeah,
So it's not like she's averse to this, and she's trying her level best what comes in her
But that
mind.
whole thing of the sex supervisor being sent in, it's just
Yeah,
too
yeah.
funny. It was just like, I think it just was really very telling.
The note, the 10 points that happened actually was not in the script. I mean, she's obviously reading out, but the 10 points were written on that day with Shiba and Akshat. They went aside, and because her handwriting, she had to write it, and so then they started writing. And Shiba said, "यार ये आदमी क्या है यार? ये तो अपना पूरा बड़ास निकाल रहा है."
I love it. It's my
So all the
favorite.
10 points were incredible. Again, the Shiba was just...
She's too. So, okay, so now it's been more than a year in since the film was released, and every day the gender conversation is getting more nuanced and it's also getting more fraught. It is getting more complicated and stuff. And I think you did good, right? You think that you did good, right? Do you look like get up in the morning and think, I did a great movie? And like me, you also have a Gen Z spokesperson at home, your daughter. They're play acting as your daughter. So, what did her friends and what did her contemporaries think of the movie?
So the impact, like I'll tell you one really beautiful thing. I mean, for me, that was the biggest thing in terms of not validation, but what this film did, is like my son is in fourth standard now.
Okay.
So he was in third then. And they were kind of doing some rehearsals and stuff like that. So he was singing this song, Hum Rang Hai. I said, yaar, itna pasand hai, because he loves all the songs and he's always watching it on YouTube and he's singing Hum Rang Hai, Hum Rang Hai. And I said, "Arey, wo sab." My wife says, "No, they're performing this song in the gathering." I said, "What?" And then I said, "Arey, yaar, I should thank." She said, "Don't do that." Yeah. And suddenly, 1 month later, he stopped singing. He was singing some Koi Mil Gaya wala gana. And I was crushed कि अच्छा cancel कर दिया. लगता है somebody has complained ये क्या होता है, because the children, all of them would be singing.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would be coming home and wanting to see it. Maybe the parents would have watched it and said, यार ये क्या हो रहा है, स्कूल को complain किया रहेगा. ये सब मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था कि maybe they have nixed it. But then finally again when it came for that particular day, so it's about 5 days, the same thing every division performs on stage, and it's third standard children, and they're doing this entire thing on Hum Rang Hai. And I thought, okay, fine, they're taking just the generic thing, but on the screen behind there was about LGBTQI
Are you
rights,
kidding
one
me?
thing. I'll show you the...
That is amazing.
And I was like so blown, and my wife said, "No, you can't tell the principal or anyone right now. Hold back and all of that." I was like, "Yaar, this is my film." My song being played for 5 days.
Till then, all of y'all sing and salute me as I walk on stage.
No.
But
I had to
such a
salute
great story.
So I went and finally met the principal and I told, "This is I can't believe it." And said, "No, this song is beautiful, and we are kind of now educating children." After this whole thing was this happened, from 8th to 10th standard children, we had a workshop where we were educating or making them realize and all of that. I said, man, this is incredible, right? I mean, so it did impact the teachers, right? The teacher would have selected this particular song knowing what it was all about and then spreading it through the entire generation, right? So
Yeah,
watching it,
Aro.
so I'm really moved by the response.
I'm so glad. This is
Yeah,
a
so it's
great
not just Gen
story.
Z, it's also, what are the next
Gen
one?
Alpha?
Gen Alpha, yeah. Gen
Yeah.
Alpha is also reacting to it now.
Well done, yeah. Chalo, then at least when the pogrom comes of the young people, they won't like put you down just
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
I
like-
won't be cancelled
Not
unless
really-
and until people listen to this and say he's all wrong. Like my
No, no. It's
daughter
about-
said, you'll be cancelled. Don't be
No.
wrong.
No, it's about listening. I think it's
Yeah, yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
No cancellation is happening yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thanks so much for
Thank you,
coming.
thank
I really enjoyed, and I'm so glad I got to ask you all these questions.
Wow,
Yeah.
it ended, huh? I thought
Wow,
it was
it
a long one. But...
No, it was
Thanks,
great.
thank you.
Thanks so much. All
Thank
right.
you very
Thanks.
Hi, this is Harshavardhan Kulkarni with The Swaddle, and I'm speaking about my film Badhaai Do. To listen to the full conversation, listen to the Best Parts podcast, and please subscribe to The Swaddle.